Praise the Lord, my beautiful, blessed souls. I am back with another word. Well, I'm still in Hosea, and I'm going to read Hosea 3. It says, Hosea, reconciliation with his wife. The Lord said to me, go, show your love to your wife again. Though she is loved by another man and is an adulteress, love her as the Lord loves the Israelites, though they turn to other gods and love the sacred raisin cakes. So I bought for her 15 shekels of silver and about a homer and a lethek of barley. That's how they like cubits and stuff like that. So that's how they did that. I gotta look it up because I'm not really sure, but exactly how much it equals to. Like they have shekels and stuff like that. Then I told her, you are to live with me many days, and you must not be a prostitute or be intimate with any man. So he brought her back, and I will behave the same way toward you. So now he's gonna, right. So for the Israelites will live many days without king or prince. This is one of the things that they have to go through as part of their, for their consequences of being disobedient and adultery. So without a king or prince, without sacrifice or sacred stones, without ephod or household gods. After the Israelites will return and seek the Lord their God and David their king, they will come trembling to the Lord and to his blessings in the last days. So this was kind of a short chapter, but we're just going to get into it. So this is the prophet entering into a new contract, representing the gracious manner in which God will again restore Israel under a new covenant. So when he bought her back because she was a prostitute. She was prostituting herself. And he brought her back and told her that now he's going to act towards her the way she does towards him. And she can't have anyone else, and she can't. So this is kind of like consequences of your actions. So verse 1 through 3 is the dislike of men to true religion. It is because they love objects and forms, meaning which allow them to indulge instead of mortifying their lusts. How wonderful that a holy God should have goodwill to those whose carnal mind is at enmity against him. Here is represented God's gracious dealings with the fallen race of mankind that had gone from him. This is the covenant of grace. He is willing to enter into with them. So they must be to him a people, and he will be to them a God. They must accept the punishment of their sin and must not return to folly. And it is a certain sign that our afflictions are means of good to us when we are kept from being overcome by the temptations of an artificial state. So this is where God allows us to suffer the consequences of our actions, basically. And that's for disobedience. That's why I say obedience is better than sacrifice, because they like to indulge. They wanted to have, initially they didn't have a king. Initially they didn't have all of these things, but then they wanted them like all of the other peoples, around them. They wanted kings, they wanted rulers, and this is what happened. They had, who God put over them, and then they just wanted all of these other things. So God gave it to them, but as you can see, a lot of the things that were going on, and the reason God didn't have them with kings and different things, he had them with different prophets over them, is so that he can converse with them and he could talk to them. He didn't want them to be like other people, but they kept trying to be like other nations, other people. But see, other peoples and other nations, just like the Egyptians, the pharaohs, they weren't, godly. They weren't God-fearing, and they weren't as far as being fair, being kind, being just. These people were all tyrants. They had power and they abused their power. They enslaved them. They mistreated them. So this is why, sometimes we ask for things and we get it and it's not what we thought it was going to be. God initially had what he planned for them, which was for him to rule and over them, and, for him to have certain things in place, people he appointed for them to be over them. But this is how, so when we look at this example. This was God showing us how we act towards him. Being a prostitute, being out there, being an adulterer, sleeping around, fornicating on God, cheating on him with other gods, meaning out there and he's taking care of us, he's loving us, making sure we have everything. But yet it's not, no matter what he does for us, we're not happy, we're not satisfied. So this is what this is all about. So here is the application of the parable to Israel. They must long sit like a widow, stripped of all joys and honors, but shall at length be received again. Meaning she has to suffer the consequences. God he's hurt. This is like when you have to rebuild trust in a relationship. You're out there, you're cheating and fornicating. So now you're not going to get what you were getting from God, at least not right away. This is how it works even with human beings. So those that will seek the Lord so as to find him must apply to Christ and become his willing people. Not only are we to fear the Lord and his greatness, but the Lord and his goodness, not only his majesty, but his mercy. Even Jewish writers apply this passage to the promised Messiah. Doubtless it foretold their future conversions to Christ, meaning for which they are kept. This is before Christ's time. Separate people. Though the first fear of God arises from a view of his holy majesty and righteous vengeance, right, yet the experience of mercy and grace through Jesus Christ will lead the heart to reverence so kind and gracious, so kind and glorious a friend and a father, and to fear offending him, meaning he's going to still forgive them, but it's just they have to go through a process of cleansing, sanctification, proving themselves, worthy, longing after him, wanting to have a relationship with him, meaning really turning and repenting from their adulterous ways. So this is what is going on. So in this chapter, in order to the prophet to love an adulterous woman, beloved of her friend, and by this parable expresses the love of God to Israel and their ingratitude towards him. The prophet's execution of that order, making a purchase of her, meaning buying her back, and a covenant with her, meaning buying her back from, who she was with, which set forth the captive, servile, mean, and abject state that the people, which is explained of their being deprived for a long time of civil and ecclesiastic government, right? And the chapter is concluded with the prophecy and promise of their conversion to Christ in the later days. So he's promising that he's going to restore them, but it will come at a later date. So the Lord said unto me again, for the word yet or again is to be joined to this, and not the following clause, and shows that this is a new vision, prophecy, parable, though respecting the same persons and things. So this is a new covenant. He had to redo the covenant. He had to change it. He had to make some amendments because as he could see what was going on was not working, just like Adam and Eve in the garden. I mean, it wasn't God, it was us and our doing that, he's just changing, and the changes that he's making is still so that he can have a relationship with us, even though we're not holy, even though we're not sanctified, even though we're not considered to be, worthy. But he's still going out his way to come after us and show us that he loves us. Love a woman beloved of her friend, yet an adulteress, not the prophet's wife, not Gomer, but some other fiend person, beloved either of her own husband, as the Targum and Jarchi, notwithstanding her unchastity and unfaithfulness to him. Because remember, back then, this was, adultery was considered a sin, and it was considered something that was punishable by death or of another man. So you're not supposed to know another man. You're not supposed to have another man. You're supposed to be with your husband. You're supposed to be a virgin. Want you to consecrate your marriage, meaning actually have sex, that was the actual contract. The breaking of the hymen, which would be the shedding of the blood on the wound. So it's a blood contract. And this is what this was all about. Who had a very great respect for her. He courted her and perhaps had betrothed her, but had not yet consummated the marriage. And this is what that is talking about. And although a harlot loved her dearly and could not get off his affections from her, but hankered after her, or of the prophet as Kimichi, who paraphrases it, thou shalt love her and be to her a friend. So it's basically showing us, to protect and defend her as harlots used to have one in particular that they call their friend, meaning a friend, by whose name they were called, and was a cover to them. The sense is that the prophet was to go to the people of Israel and deliver this parable to them, setting forth their state and condition, meaning just letting them know this is the behavior and the behavior towards God and his great love to them, notwithstanding all their baseness and ingratitude. It was as if a woman that was either married or betrothed, or that either had a husband or suitor that so dearly loved her, and though she was guilty of uncleanness and continued in it, yet he would not leave her, and which is thus expressed by the Targum meaning. So go deliver a prophecy against the house of Israel, who are like a woman dear to her husband, and though she commits fornication against him, yet he so loves her, and that he will not put her away, so he continues to love her, even though she's an adulterous woman. This is, we see this every day throughout marriages, throughout relationships. Please do not get this confused with boyfriend and girlfriend relationships, because boyfriend and girlfriends, God does not consider those to be relationships, because those are relationships that are actually outside of the will of God. Those are considered to be fornication. Really and truthfully, it's supposed to be husband and wife. It's supposed to be a virgin. You're supposed to be with only one man, which is your husband your entire life, and that's that. So according to the love of the Lord toward the children of Israel, such as the love of the Lord to them, for though they were guilty of idolatry, intemperance, and other immoralities, yet still he loved them, and formed designs of grace and goodness for them. Although they kept cheating, although they kept being disobedient, although they kept running and chasing after other gods, meaning idolatry, people, places, and things, putting them before God, whether it's money, whether it's work, whether it's your children, whether it's a husband, whatever it is, your dreams, your goals. Anything that you put above God is considered idolatry, is considered to be your worship in that thing. And thus, though God does not love sinners as such, yet he loves them, though they are sinners. And then, even while they are as such, as appeared by his choice of them, and then the covenant with them by Christ dying for them while still sinners, and by his quickening them when dead in trespasses and sins. So he's still chasing after them, although they're sinners, although they're out there and they don't even think of him. They don't even consider him. They don't want him. They don't love him. He is still protecting them. He's providing for them. Because when we think about even the people who are not saved, even the people who do not care about God, if they are witches, they are warlocks, whatever they are out there in this world, they don't believe in God, they're atheists, or they believe in other religions, other gods, and they worship them. God still provides for them. The sun still rises and sets on the just and the unjust each and every day, just alike. He still provides and protects them. The birds of the air, the water, the creatures, everything is still provided for. God makes sure that everything eats. They don't work, they don't have jobs, but everything, they still eat, they still live, they still breathe. And this is the things that we should be looking at. Who look to other gods, although they look to other gods and look to them and worship them, praying to them, put their trust in them, and expect good things from them, but yet they don't receive that, and we still turn on God. And they love flagons of wine, tubs of grape, or wine made of them, or lumps of raisins, cakes, or junkets, and made of them, and other things, as the Septuagint, and they may respect either the drunkenness and the intemperance, the 10 tribes, and they loved, as Kamichi says, the lights of the world, and not the law and commandments of God, or the feasts that were made in the temples of their idols. They loved good eating and drinking, and that made them like adultery, the better for the sake of those things. For the heathens used to eat drink to excess at their sacrifices, meaning hence Digens, the philosopher, was very angry with those who sanctified to God for their health, yet in their sacrifice feasted to the prejudice of their health. So when we think about things, they're talking about they love the things of the world, drinking, having food, and doing all of these celebrations and all of these type of things. So we even see those things today. When we think about this world and how they celebrate all of these different holidays that are pagan, and they cook food and get drunk and play cards or whatever it is that they do. When we sit here and we really think about it, it's the same thing. It's like a worshiping, or they do worship these other things. Anything you put your your money, your time, your energy, your efforts towards whether it's a person, a place, a thing. I mean, you got to think about it. That is a form of, worship. So when God says you do not put anything before Him, meaning don't worship anything, put your money, your time, energy, effort in anything above Him. And we tend to do that a lot. And we sit here and we say, oh, well, a lot of times we don't think about it like that. But, how many times you say, oh, we'll pray, or we'll read our Bible, or we'll go to church, or we'll do what God says. We put it to the side and we do everything else but that. That's us putting those things before God. So when we look at this, as an example, this is what He wants us to see, that yet though we push Him to the side, we, pay Him no mind. Could you imagine, the heartbreak He feels sending His Son to die for us? I mean, every time there was an issue, He would fix it so that we can come back to Him. And people would be very ungrateful. They're very, entitled. They're very, when it comes to God and the things of God, blame Him for everything, when it be us and our own actions that get us into the things that we end up into. And then we don't want to take accountability and responsibility for what we do, which is against what everything He tells us to do. That's just like our children. If they do everything we tell, the opposite of what we tell them, and then when they get in trouble, they want us, or they're angry with us, and they want us to come rescue them, save them, pay for them to get out of, and sometimes God has to allow us to stew. That's why He said our afflictions is good that we're afflicted, because sometimes we need those afflictions, because if not, we wouldn't reverence God, we wouldn't praise and worship God, we wouldn't run to God, we wouldn't even acknowledge Him if it wasn't, we need something from Him. And who wants to have a relationship with someone who just want us when we need them? God wants us to have a relationship with Him regardless of that. And that's why He allows certain things to happen and allow us to see and go through certain things in life, just so, we could see what really is going on. Who's really there for us, who really does, to let us see our circle, whether it's our job, whether it's our children, whether it's our spouses, significant others, whatever it is that, God will let us see. Those are the things you put before me. Well, let's see what happens when I step back. I'm going to let you have that, you and them. And let's see if it's going to be the same. Let's see if these people, places, and things going to love you and be there for you the way that I am, since you push me off to the side. No one's going to just be there and want to be bothered with somebody and they don't love them back. Love is reciprocal. You don't want to chase nobody. You don't want to, be after people. You want to love those who love you back. And you want the same type of love and respect. And so this is what God demands of us as well. If not, He says He doesn't want half of us. He wants all of us, or He wants none of us. That's why He says, if you're lukewarm, I will spit you out. Either you're hot or you're cold. You're not lukewarm. Either you're with me and for me, or you're against me. But don't think you're going to use me and come running back to me whenever you get ready, when things are falling apart. You worship all these other idols, all these other gods. Let them provide and protect you. Why should I have to provide and protect you when you don't even listen to me? You don't agree with nothing I say. You do the total opposite, and everything I'm telling you is for your own good, but you don't like the rules. You don't like the regulations. You just want to do what you want to do. And so, it reminds me of children who are disobedient, who love to run with their friends and other people, places and things, and families and whatever. And then, when things don't go the way they want them or think they should, they're upset with the parents. The parents did this, the parents didn't do that. It's never enough. You never could please anybody, and this is where it is. Or it could be a husband and a wife, where nothing that they do is right. There's always an issue, always a problem, always something else, someone else. And when we look at these issues, we see them each and every day within our own lives. So we get to understand exactly where God is coming from. When He's like, listen, I'm not being bothered with you right now. I'm going to let you deal with what you got to deal with. That's what you chose. You chose that man over me. I didn't tell you to marry. You chose to have those kids or get pregnant, or you chose to move to that state, city, take that job, be with this, do that. You didn't consult with me. You didn't ask me. You didn't, you put it before me and you just did what you want to do. So now that it's falling apart, I'm going to let you sit right there. You deal with it for a minute, and I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let you deal with what you need to deal with. And then when you come to your senses and you think about me for a change and think about, then maybe you'll think about me and maybe you'll get your mind right. You know, maybe you understand that it is me that give you the power to get wealth. Maybe then you'll understand that, you know, the blessings of the Lord comes with no sorrows. Then you'll start understanding, reading your word, wanting a relationship, want to chase after me and have a relationship with me. Not for what I can provide you with, but for yourself, for us to have an actual relationship. So there's times that God will not give us what we want, or he'll take everything away just so we can be, you know, afflicted to the point where he'll bring you to your knees. If you don't serve me on your own, then you will, we're going to do this the easy way or the hard way. You know, because eventually you're going to acknowledge me, whether you're on the high horse and the high pedestal or when you're at your lowest point in your life. Which one? Because we love to leave God once we get it all together and we get everything, all the blessings he wants. And then we're like, oh, never mind, we don't got to be bothered with God. This is what we do. And we leave the blessor for the blessings. So, just wanted to share that with you guys. We are in Hosea chapter 3, and we are going through this. And, you know, God is consistently trying to show us how we treat him and how we blame him, and the love he has for us, we just take it for granted. We feel very entitled. We're ungrateful. We're never satisfied. We always have issues and problems with him, with what we're, you know, getting or not getting from him. This is what we do. And so because of that, this is a very good, you know, example and of what happens with our relationship with him. But thank God for Jesus, and thank God for God being who he is. Thank him for his grace and his mercy. Thank him for the past, present, and future blessings. Because whether we acknowledge it or not, he's doing it each and every day in our lives. And so we just need to really sit down and think about it. If we don't never get everything we ever wanted in life, has God not been good enough to us to provide us, protect us, even when we weren't thinking of him in our everyday daily lives? Because although, you know, our lives aren't the greatest, they could be a whole lot worse. There's always somebody out there who's doing worse off than we are. Our lives may not be exactly what we want them to be, but they're not what they could be or could have been. Meaning past things were worse or could be worse. So we should always have an attitude of gratitude, and we should be, you know, thinking of God and putting him first and asking him and walking in his will, having an actual relationship with him, so that we can, you know, build our lives on the good foundation and not of the worldly foundation, which is easily destroyed. So we are bruised and not broken. I just sharing this because I myself am learning, you know, because it's like we walk with God and we think of ourselves so highly sometimes. Then we have to look back at our attitudes and actions and where we get them from and what's going on with us. You know, we really think that we are just so wonderful, and we're not. We're just like really not. But anyway, love you guys. We are bruised and not broken. I just wanted to share this. And I hope that this message is going to help us and let us sit back and think about us and how we act mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually. Because when we think about how we really treat God, how we treat Jesus, we be putting him last. But we would never want him to put us last. And that's just, you know, the gist of it. But anyway, we're bruised and not broken. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I may do another video. I'm not sure. I may go into Exodus because Exodus has been a lot. I've been trying to get through Exodus. This last part of Exodus is going into a lot of detail and symbolism. So I have to really be trying to look up some stuff. This one, I was looking up some stuff, but I was trying to hurry up and get it out. I don't want to rush it, but then I want to be taking too long with it either. But anyway, love you guys. I hope this message was a blessing. Let's pay attention to how we treat God and how he treats us and how we treat one another, because we don't even want that for ourselves, for our kids, and for the relationships we have, you know, whether it's, no matter what it is. So let's just be mindful. Love you guys. Bruised and not broken. Later.